Closing out this morning's Tech Talks is Julia Owens, co-founder of Millendo Therapeutics. Julia co-founded Millendo in 2012, serving as its CEO for 9 years and establishing its strategy and attracting a world-class team. Under her leadership, the company raised $195 million from both private and public markets. Early in her career, Julia served as Senior Vice President at Lycera Corp. Let's welcome Julia to the stage.
Hi, everyone. What great talks we've seen today, and I'm pleased to close out the morning session talking about something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about lessons that I've learned climbing mountains and how I have found those to be useful actually in my life as a biotech CEO. So I've worked in drug development for about 22 years now, 17 of those here in Ann Arbor. And as Paul just mentioned, I spent 9 years most recently as the CEO of Millendo Therapeutics. Earlier, Roger talked a little bit about the drug development process, and many of you are likely aware that drug development is a process fraught with failure. Most programs that enter preclinical or clinical development don't reach the other end of the funnel. You work in drug development because you love science, you love your team, you love the process of learning and discovering, not because you expect to deliver multiple drugs to the market. I've worked on dozens of drug discovery and development programs in my career, and I'm fortunate to be involved in one that's actually available to patients today. I hope to yet be involved in at least one or two more in my career, but that may not happen. And that's okay, because I really love the science, the process. It's about the journey. And that's not unlike mountain climbing, a hobby I've taken up a little bit later in life. In both drug development and in mountain climbing, you need to prepare, you need to have a strong team, you need to have perseverance and resilience, and you need a little bit of luck. I first started climbing mountains 2 years ago. I was fortunate to participate in the Mount Kilimanjaro climb to fight cancer. 27 executives and investors in the biotech industry joined together to summit the highest mountain in Africa. This was a fundraising climb to raise dollars to research cancer and hopefully come up with new cures. But this was no normal trip. First of all, I hadn't been camping in more than 2 decades, and I had never been backpacking. Second of all, I had raised millions of dollars for companies, but it's another thing altogether to ask your friends, family, colleagues to donate over $50,000 to a nonprofit. Ultimately, both experiences were incredibly rewarding. Our collective team raised $1.6 million to fund cancer research, and as I'll tell you more, all 27 of us did summit the highest peak in Africa. So today, I'm going to tell you 3 lessons that I learned on Mount Kilimanjaro. Lesson 1, make it work for you. Kilimanjaro, or a couple of the other climbs that I've had the privilege to do more recently, are not dangerous or highly technical climbs. You have to be in pretty good shape, and you have to bring a long list of necessary gear. But as long as you do that requisite preparation, you're going to be fine. Every night before we would set out for our daily hiking, our guide would lay out for us what we should expect on the next day. What the weather would be, what terrain, how long we would be hiking, and what we needed to bring. Our type A group of executives always had many questions, and to be honest, I had most of them. And our guide, Eric, was always very, very patient. Eric has summited Kilimanjaro over 100 times. He's heard it all. But as the questions got deep into the weeds or would get too long, he'd cut things off with his trademark, make it work for you. What this meant is we'd been given all the parameters, what was known about what to expect that day. We had all the right gear. We had to define what our personal needs and situations were going to be. For me, I always run cold. That usually meant one more layer than whatever he said or having some gloves, but I had to decide that. It's the same as a biotech CEO. You have a board of directors who sets out a vision, sets out the expectations. You have lawyers, PR firms, lots of other people who give you input, but no one has faced the exact situation that you're in at any particular time. It's up to you as a CEO in consultation with your team to make the decisions that are appropriate. In other words, make it work for you. Lesson 2, pace yourself. Going up to 19,000 feet on Kilimanjaro will tax even the most fit person. Of the roughly 100,000 people who attempt to summit Kilimanjaro each year, only about half make it. And most of those who are unsuccessful it's because they try to go too quickly. We took the Machame route and a 7-day climbing strategy, which already maximized our chances of success. But it's still, you wake up on summit day at midnight. You've tried to sleep a couple hours. You rise at midnight and hike with headlamps on in the stark terrain way above tree line. And it's taxing. You're tired. You're out of breath. Honestly, you feel really nauseous. And you just got to keep going. And that's when the guides, the Tanzanian guides, often tell you, pole, pole, which is Swahili for slowly, slowly. You've got to put one foot in front of the other and do the best you can and not overtax yourself by trying to do more than you can do. All 27 of us did reach the summit that morning as the sun peeked over the horizon at different times and at our own pace, but we all made it. This is not unlike working in busy life as an executive or a working parent. The to-do list can be never-ending. Conference calls, presentations to review, board meetings, parent-teacher conferences, you name it. The to-do list is never-ending. And trying to do too much doesn't work. The best advice is to move methodically and slowly, yet we rarely have a guide saying pole, pole, and reminding us to take our time, take care of ourselves, and do the best we can as we try to accomplish everything that's laid out in front of us. Which brings me to my third lesson, practice self-care. When you're on the mountain, it's really important to take care of your physical and mental well-being. If you don't drink enough water, you're going to suffer acute mountain sickness, especially at high altitudes. If you don't watch your feet as they get hot spots, you're going to have blisters and not be able to move on. And after hiking 7 to 8 hours a day, it's very crucial to stretch tired muscles because you got to be right at it again the next day in what seems like a harder and harder endeavor. Our guides were really good about reminding us about the importance of self-care. But that's a lot harder to do day to day in busy life where you've got lots of other challenges that seem to take precedent from eating healthy or exercise or making time for fun or family or whatever your priorities are. I would know, as I'm sure many would, I certainly found myself 2 years ago quite burnt out after 7 years operating as a biotech CEO in a company that had more than our share of ups and downs. That was part of my motivation for signing up for Kilimanjaro in the first place. I needed to get away, off the grid, new challenge, and reset, and find a little more balance and perspective in my life. It was a great experience, and I've since then climbed 2 other major mountains and had a phenomenal time doing so. Millendo in June closed a merger, ending my 9-year chapter with the company. And I did one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I took the summer off. I climbed some mountains. I spent time with my eldest child, who is now off at college, and I'm feeling refreshed and recharged as I get ready for whatever my next entrepreneurial endeavor is going to be. The one thing I do know is whatever it is, I'm going to keep in mind these 3 lessons that I learned on the mountain and make sure I apply them in my life going forward. Thank you.